This week on Reidus and Cletus Weekly, it's not Reidus or Cletus, it's Nick. This is my car. We're looking at a 1971 Plymouth Valiant Scamp, and so mine I've got about 5 years ago. It's a slant 6 powered car. So we're just going to do a quick walk around. I'll tell you a little bit about the car. Back when these cars were new, this was actually a compact. It has 6 seat belts. It's a 6-seater car. But it was a smaller car. It was the smallest American-made Plymouth that year, 1971. And 1971 was the first year for the Valiant Scamp. The Valiant Scamp, of course, was just the Plymouth version of the Dart Swinger. Dodge had got the Demon in exchange for the Plymouth Duster, and so in return, Plymouth got this. So this car was actually called Scamp. It's a kind of cute name because it was marketed towards women. This would be your secretary's car or your grandma's car, especially with the slant 6 like I've got. Not a lot of power. But of course it shares the same bones as a Dart or a Duster. The wheelbase is about 3 inches longer than a Duster, but it's the same basic bones and the kind of same look. And so a lot of people assume it's a muscle car. I get people all the time revving their engines, want to race or something. But this thing does not make a lot of power. The Slant 6 was rated at 145 gross, which is about 110 net horsepower. And so if this thing makes 100 now, I'm happy with that number. But yeah, you can see it's got very much the same kind of character lines as the Duster. It's got the kind of falling line below, and it's got the little kick up. But the main difference was, of course, in the Duster they grafted on the kind of fastback roof, and it just has a hard top instead. This one is appears as it was ordered from the factory, so I've done everything I can to bring it back towards factory. So it came with these rally wheels like this. I've added the correct year center caps on those because it came with the wrong year. It came with 72 center caps on it. Yeah, it came in, and this is a repaint, but it's the original style color. It's a pretty close match because it actually still has the original paint under the hood and in the door jambs, and it's, you can take a look at that later. Yeah, and this car was actually a dealer lot car, so it wasn't ordered by anyone. It was just a dealer on the lot, and yeah, pretty base spec except for the rally wheels were an option. This is part of what they called the light package, A01, so they added this, a map light and a trunk light. Air conditioning was a rare thing for this kinds of cars. That was the most expensive option, but it does have air conditioning, which is not functioning despite my best efforts to get it repaired. But yeah, this is pretty much what they look like, and a pretty bare bones example of one. Inside you have even more green, just in case the green outside wasn't enough. You've got green vinyl, seats, dashboard, headliner, just surrounded by green inside and out. And yeah, just a very simple interior, as you can see. It's got a kind of aftermarket wrap on the steering wheel, but that's how I got it, and I don't mind that at all. Yeah, I replaced the rear partial shelf because everyone always has rear speakers added, aftermarket speakers. I took those out, just a nice plain partial shelf. I installed the original 2-watt AM radio, which is how it was ordered from the factory, instead of the AM FM cassette that someone had put in there. Yeah, it's pretty much looking back to factory inside and out now too. The last thing is just the tires. I have to put some double white stripes on it. But yeah. Under the hood of the Scamp, we've got the 225 cubic inch slant 6. That was the bigger of the two sizes available, but it was still the base engine. I think you actually had to order it if you wanted the 190 EQ. Like I was saying, this is 145 gross horsepower, which is 110 net, and probably even less now. So it's really just making next to nothing, but it still goes, and you know, it scoots. The engine is known to be very reliable, and it has been for me. The weak spot is the electricals, which are now, after 5 years, starting to fall apart on me. That is the weak link in the chain, so I have to do some work actually this summer to make sure everything is up to snuff electrically. But otherwise, it's been great. It's just the air conditioning unit as well has a leak somewhere in the system, but mechanically it's running strong. It hasn't been apart. This is the engine it came with, and it's just hasn't had any real troubles with it. So yeah. It's got a power steering, but manual brakes. Those are drums all around, little tiny ones too. And yeah, it's just a nice little tiny engine. I was really kind of not any preference when I was looking for cars, but now that I have a Slant 6, I'm a big Slant 6 fan, so I'm glad I got one.